Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. For Magic the Gathering, let me show you my paper Celes deck. I had a previous deck using her as the commander, I'll link to that below, but I took that apart in order to make this one. I've been kind of shuffling some cards around my different decks, so this is what I have now. But Celes here, first ability, when she enters, discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards, +1. And then kind of the focus of the deck, the big overall focus, is discarding cards. In playing my mono-red Subira deck, which discards a lot of cards, I realized that I enjoy discarding cards and then having stuff in my graveyard. And so Celes is kind of a commander that really speaks to me, besides being one of my favorite characters from one of my favorite Final Fantasies. So it's been cool to sort of think about how to play her. And yeah, I really want to focus on the discard stuff, but actually looking through all of the cards for red, white, and black, there's not a ton that are like discard payoffs, but we can look at those first, I guess. So here, for example, we have Archfiend of Ifnir. Whenever I discard cards, I can put a -1/-1 counter on each creature every opponent controls. That's pretty powerful. So discard 3, everything gets -3/-3 forever. It's not until end of turn. Those are counters. That's very strong. And then Bone Miser, if I discard various types of cards, I get various types of benefits. And then Brawlin here, I can put counters on her to make her larger, and then deal direct damage to opponents. And then Cryptcaller Chariot, every time I discard any number of cards, I get a 2/2 black zombie. That's pretty good. Dying to Serve is similar, but it only goes once per turn. With the other one, there is a chance that it can go off multiple times per turn. Faith of the Devoted, I was wondering if I wanted to include this or not, because you have to pay every time you discard a card. But in the last game that I played, I was getting a lot of use out of this. Everybody's losing lots of life, getting angry at me, and I was gaining lots of life, so this is a pretty great card, actually. Similar to that is a Feast of Sanity. It costs more up front, but I don't have to pay every time. And then, yeah, it does 1 damage to something, and then I gain 1 life. So actually there's a decent amount of life gain in this deck as well. And then a Glinthorn Buccaneer and a Magmakin Artillerist. Every time I discard a card, that will do 1 damage to each opponent. These are both very good. Evora and then Marauding Mako. When I discard, they get +1/+1 counters, similar to Brawlin. And then Monument to Endurance, one of my favorite cards at the moment. This is an artifact where I can get 3 effects, up to 3 effects every turn if I discard up to 3 cards. Draw a card or create a treasure token, or each opponent loses 3 life. These are all great modes. And then finally is a Surly Badgersaur, kind of similar to Bone Miser. Whenever I discard a type of card, then I get some kind of benefit. +1/+1 counter, or create treasure, or fight something. And then another kind of theme that I have is sort of direct damage, like burn damage. And we saw that some of the cards that I had before, they would do damage to opponents with discarding. This is more just damage stuff, so... Fiery Confluence, I'm most likely to select deal damage to opponents 3 times, but if I need it, I can do damage to creatures or destroy artifacts. Grenzo's Ruffians can do lots of damage. In Commander, you know, sort of like aggro is weaker because you have more opponents and they have more life, but with melee, these guys can spread the damage around. Mechanized Warfare and then Roller Crusher Ride can give me extra damage on every instance that I do. Price of Progress is a single use damage source. Prisoner's Dilemma, I love this card. You can make everybody take damage and then also vote, and it's like a psychological experiment. Torbrand, similar to the other ones, adds damage to every instance. Thundering Raiju, this one can sort of like be like that melee goblin, but like depending on how many modified creatures I have, depending on how many creatures I have with +1/+1 counters, then Thundering Raiju will do damage to everybody. And then Unquenchable Fury, when somebody attacks, they'll do damage to the target based on how many cards they have in hand, and this can come back from the graveyard every time the holder dies, so this is kind of a difficult to get rid of enchantment. And then Vicious Shadows, whenever a creature dies, I can do damage to somebody based on how many cards they have in hand. I have won a game with this before. Somebody used a board wipe, forgetting that this was out, and so I just did tons of damage to everybody. And then we have various cards for draw and discard. This is a similar list to what was in the previous deck with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. But like draw a discard, or gain life, or do damage. Aha! This is Joshua, Phoenix's Dominant. This is a very good card from the new Final Fantasy set, especially for this deck. But when he enters, you know, I can discard and then draw, and then flip him over. And then I can do more damage to everybody directly, get some damage back, get some life back from the lifelink, and then the third phase, I can recur stuff from my graveyard. So maybe some of my creatures that have, you know, various discard payoffs. And then it will go back to being Joshua, and I can put more stuff into my graveyard. Really good card. Good and limited, and should be good in this commander deck. And then I talked about this in the previous video, but one of the problems that I ran into was if I had no cards in hand, it made it more difficult to discard and then draw. So that's why Magus of the Wheel is in here. I can refill my hand to 7 and then go from there. Mishra's Command, this is here mostly for discard draw. Nibelheim Aflame is another new card that I really like. I'm more interested in the flashback where I can discard my hand and draw 4, but maybe doing damage with my creature would also be good. And we got more draw discard effects here. And then here, also similar to the previous Cauldron deck, is various creatures that can cast themselves from the graveyard. So if I can discard them and then bring them back, I can get the effects from Celes' second ability, which will give me +1/+1 counters on everybody. So that will help me win with just like combat damage as well. But it's not as necessary to get the +1/+1 counters on guys as it is with the Soul Cauldron deck, because you need those to get the effects. And then here, Sephiroth, Fallen Hero, I want to put this card in the deck because, for one thing, it only costs 3 to play it from the graveyard and then sacrifice a creature, maybe one of these guys that can come back themselves. That's a very inexpensive cost for such a big creature. And then, when this Sephiroth attacks, everybody that I have that is modified or has a +1/+1 counter on it will become Sephiroth, basically. Power 7, Toughness 5. Pretty darn good. And then we have various removal or protection. I showed these white cards off before, but in a pinch, I can exile my Celes, and then she'll come back, and then she'll get that discard draw effect again. And then Requisition Raid is pretty cool. Various modes, I can destroy an artifact or an enchantment, or put +1/+1 counter on every creature I control. That's nice synergy with Celes, or I can do all of them. Shenanigans can come back from the graveyard. Smash to Smithereens also does some damage, maybe good with the damage increase cards. Spectacular Pileup, this is just a random board wipe that I had in my box. And then Touch the Spirit Realm, this one too, I can get rid of opponent stuff, or exile, blink, Celes. And then various artifacts for mana, and various lands that I haven't really put too much thought into. But yeah, those are the cards that I am thinking about for my other Celes deck. In an ideal world, I would have, you know, both Celes decks on hand whenever I would like. But for the moment, this is going to be the one that I'm going to have in paper. The Cauldron deck maybe I will build in the future, or maybe I'll change this discard deck over to the Cauldron deck, or maybe I'll just play one on Arena, one in paper, that kind of a thing. But yeah, super excited by this commander and the different possibilities for her. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.